Yeah, welcome back, guys. Got a lot to go over, probably in a little bit of time. I know you guys probably want to ask a bunch of questions, so I want to try to get all the information I can. We're getting ready to start spring practice today. I'm excited. This group has worked really hard since the end of the year last year. We've had a bunch of time to spend together as coaches, staff. Our skull sessions have started. We've got a lot of new players. It feels like more new players than ever before, which I think I say that every year, but the numbers don't say that it's more new guys, but it certainly feels like that. We're averaging about 33% new per year, which you'd like for that number back in the old days to be 20 to 25% new every year. But it's turning over more and quicker, which we have less turnover than most places. We pride ourselves on retention, stability. The foundation of this program is built through high school programs and bringing good kids into the program that can become good football players. But as we do every year, I'm going to try to make as many announcements as I can quickly. Colby's with us. Colby's going to be practicing with us. He's cleared. So he's practicing. He's been working out with us. Guys that are out for spring, I think we have 9 total guys, which I do a year-to-year average. I think 2024 we had 12 out. 2023 we had 8 out. 2022 we had 14 out. I think we're at 8 or 9, depending on how you classify a couple guys. We've got 5 shoulder surgeries that happened at the end of the year. Those are all rehabbing right now. They're in really good progression in terms of getting back. Monroe, Gabe, Colton, Christian Miller, and Jalen Morgan all had labral repairs, which is very common. I had it when I played here. And that's, I think, 5 of those. We've averaged 5 to 6 every spring. And then we've got Ryan Montgomery, who's had the ACL repair, Branson, who had the PCL repair, Rod Robinson, who had the ankle repair, and then Thorson, who had the ACL, MCL repair. So those are all guys that are working through things. They may be available for maybe some things in spring, like walkthrough type things, but not in practice spring. And then limited, Joseph Jonas-Jais coming off the foot navicular surgery he had, and he looks great. He's working out, running. He'll be limited to start spring and try to get to work his way back. That's kind of where we are from a medical standpoint. We do have some soft tissue injuries coming out of the off season, but nothing substantial there. So I'm excited where we are in terms of guys being able to be out there because we've got a lot of healthy guys that can get reps. So I'm excited about where we are for the spring. Looking forward to getting out there and kind of seeing our guys. You guys will have a lot of questions, I'm sure, about new guys. I don't know because I haven't got a chance to really see them. I can tell you what they look like in shorts and running around at workouts, but we haven't done a lot of football work until we start up today. So that's what we'll be doing moving forward. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, Coach, I'm sure there was an assessment period of the off season. What did you guys take away from last year or learn in terms of areas of improvement that you guys need to make as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, you do it every year, regardless of the year. I'm sure the outside world thinks if you win every game or you win a national championship or you lose every game that the sky's falling or everything's hunky-dory. For us, it's always an approach of how do we get better? How do we improve? The first way to do that is through recruiting, through the transfer portal, through talent acquisition. The next is through looking at other things people do. Special teams was a big emphasis for us. We spent a week really on that in quality control. We spent each side of the ball had 2 full weeks in, and then the week before spring break. So we got really 3 weeks, 15 days of work on each side of the ball to look introspective and out to see what we can do to be better everywhere. And, some of that's utilization of your personnel, which you don't actually know that yet. You're still trying to figure that out. We've got new players coming in on both sides of the ball. We'll find out a lot about them this spring, but we do a very, very intensive study of not only ourselves, but other people. And when you go back and you watch everything you watch, you're taking into account who are you playing against? Like what is the caliber of the opponent you're up against? And like what did we do well? What did we do poorly? What do we have to do better? And there's just a lot there. I could sit here for days and talk about that.
Kirby, when you say that Colby is cleared, whenever a game rolls around, he'd be able to play just to make sure. And also with Noah Thomas, Zachariah Branch, what did you like about those guys to want to bring them in here?
Yeah, I'm excited about both those guys. Both really good players. Both have been successful in their organizations where they've been. They're both talented pass catchers, which seems to be the largest turnover position there is. Outside of quarterback, there's only one. That's the one that has the most transfer at its position. Receiver's probably next, and both those guys they're high caliber athletes, but they're high caliber people, and I've enjoyed working with them. And the Branch brothers have been a great kind of injection into our off-season energy and workouts. They love working out. Their father trains guys. They love training. So the culture and work ethic that it requires to be successful here, they've jumped right in and done a great job of that. Noah has too. He's played in the SEC. He's been successful. So we still got to go out and do it on the field. But I'm excited about who they are.
Coach, you kind of touched on this just a little bit ago. You mentioned when things go wrong, people is always looking for somebody to blame. And I guess to that extent, after the season, Coach Bobo and Coach Searles both have been talked about a lot. I guess Paul Feinbaum had what he had to say about Mike. And I guess just what have you thought about, what do you think about when people say things like that about your coaches and just a job you think they're doing as a whole for you right now?
Yeah, be honest with you, I don't get into it much. I worked in a place for 10 years before I came here, and it's my 10th spring, so that's 20 years that, I really don't pay much attention to anything outside. I got a lot of confidence in this organization, the foundation we've built. I've got the best staff in the country, and I have no doubt about that. I've got one of the most experienced SEC staffs there is, and to be honest with you, there's a lot of confidence in that, and I have a lot of confidence in it.
Yeah, Kirby, Gunner was put in such a tough spot in that SEC championship game, and then the weeks after that with the Sugar Bowl. What have you seen from Gunner? Anything stood out since the Sugar Bowl to where you guys are now getting ready for spring practice?
Yeah, he's a tremendous leader, but that's nothing I didn't already know. I would be remiss if I said, well, that he's done this or that. He's done everything right since he's been here. That's really kind of what he embodies. He's a tough kid that loves football, that loves his teammates. You're not going to get a lot of rah-rah out of Gunner. He doesn't feel like that's his role. He earns people's respect by how he works and how he carries himself. He's got a tremendous amount of confidence in his ability. He's got a lot of knowledge of our system, and I think that kind of resonates with the other players. They rally around Gunner because they have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, for the first time you're here at Georgia, you bring back all 10 assistants from the previous season. How much does that stability on the coaching staff help you guys, especially with as many new players as you bring in now every year?
Well, it's, I could be sitting here before you last year on this exact day and have 4 new coaches. And there's a lot of positive about that. And there's a lot of positive about everybody back. I think we built our program around retention. I think we've got the most stable not only staff, but stable organization in all of college football. And I think that's what we've hung our hat on, is we have stability, we have retention, we have a great foundation. We're built to last. We don't have to worry about year in, year out, tons of change. I think this league will chew you up and spit you out. This league is brutal when you look across, and I'm sitting in an SEC head coaches meeting, and there's Stoops and I are the most tenured guys, and there's a lot of guys that are in their first 3 to 4 years. And then you look at their staffs, and there's tremendous amounts of turnover. And then you look at their rosters, and there's even more turnover. So who does the best job retaining their players and coaches? I take a lot of pride in that, and I think that's one of our weapons.
Yeah, Kirby, when you lose so many guys who have played so much football on the offensive line, just what are your thoughts on that group heading into spring, and what do you want to see from so many of these guys who have an opportunity to step up, get more reps, and maybe earn a starting role?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because there's a ton of snaps there that were lost. A lot of guys that have started games and played, which that'll be evident, tomorrow in the pro day. There's just, I don't know that, I think we got a chance to get 4 guys drafted, which is unusual. You'd have 4 draft picks on the offensive line, meaning 4 guys leaving, and that's hard to replace. But we've kind of had this coming for a while, so it's been an anticipation of how we can create depth in our signing classes. We got a lot of young offensive linemen who haven't played, who need to grow up and play. And to be honest with you, it's a problem across the NFL where they don't have enough offensive linemen. I know nobody in the country right now in the college football is saying, well, we got enough linemen, we're good. I mean, there's not enough quality offensive linemen out there, and you're trying to build depth across the board in the position. What helps with that? Mid-years. Sometimes transfers, but offensive line aren't your most transfer portal type players positions. Not a lot of people get success through doing that. We found success through developing guys. And this group that's about to take the field or get their opportunity, a lot of them have been on that scout team for 2 years, and they're not where they need to be. But we're gonna push them and do the best combination to get 8 to 10 guys that can play winning football for us, which is our goal every year.
Kirby, when you talked about the self-assessment of last year and you talked about who you played, obviously last year's schedule was hard, but it also might be the new normal going forward with the SEC. So is there kind of a sense of a balance between it's not going to be dominance like some of your previous years, but also that there were some things last year that you needed to be better at despite the schedule?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit it dead on. I think the mature view of this and the 10,000 feet view of this is we're in a different climate than we were previously. We're in a different scheduling model than we were previously. The addition of Clemson on top of the people into our league, on top of the schedule that we had, I don't make any excuses about it. It's going to be really hard. I mean, we repeat that schedule next year with the exception of the Clemson out of conference game. So it's not going to get any easier. The norm is it's going to be challenging for everybody. I mean, the 2, 3, 4 power, the autonomy 5 power conferences, you're going to play better and more competition, which is going to make things more challenging. And I don't run or shy from that. I think that is very true that it's going to be, there may be an outlier, there may be a team out there that has the right mix and does it exactly right, but you're going to see teams that we thought going into last year that we would have to deal with more adversity, more failures, and how we dealt with them would indicate our year. And I was very pleased with how we responded to losses to keep ourselves afloat and to win the SEC championship. So that's not going to change over years to come.
2 questions, Kirby. Can you tell us a little about the status of Dalen Everett for spring? Is he limited at all? And
He's limited.
what was your thought processes in bringing in Harrison Maddox?
Bring in who?
Your transfers in the secondary, Maddox and the other one, Harris, I think.
Yeah, I thought you said Harrison. Yeah, so Dalen will be limited for the spring. He's not out, but he's out there working out now, doing things and coming back from a sports hernia, sports kind of growing repair. But prognosis is great. He's doing things limited. He's moving around. He's being a great leader. All the things we expected. And then we had Dan and Malachi leaving with a tremendous amount of snaps there with those guys going out. We needed to make sure we've got depth at the secondary and growth. We signed some good young ones who are here now, and they're working with us. Some of them were here in December. Then we were able to get the 2 guys out of the portal that we think are going to help us as well.
Kirby, you talked about the coaching staff. With Andrew Thacker, does his role change, this season, or is he pretty much doing the same stuff he was doing previously?
No, his role's changed. He's taking on a position job. He's going to be working, almost primarily with the secondary, specifically the stars. He'll be with those guys, the nickels, and help coach. Those guys are kind of a quasi position now. They're half outside linebacker, they're half linebacker, they're half DB, they're a little bit safety, they're special teams players, but he'll take on a role with those guys and spend time with them.
When in that same vein, what will Will Muschamp's role kind of be with the program this spring and moving forward?
We'll probably decide that at a later time.
Kirby, I know there's competition for position every spring, but in terms of the quarterback position, I don't know if true is the right word, but the competition at that position in terms of snaps, distribution between Ryan and Gunner, and then also I'm wondering with the advancement of all this NIL legislation and rules, has your organizational chart changed in terms of who's doing what in the roster management area?
Not specifically. We've got a lot of people in charge of roster management, including myself, including our football ops staff is involved. Our operations / player development, player personnel staff, everybody gets involved in that. It's a team effort. So we've reorganized and restructured some things in terms of what falls under whose duty and whose aspects. But at the end of the day, I'm not ready to run off and go hire somebody that's just going to make all the decisions for what goes on the football field. I think I've got to stay involved in that heavily. We've got the capacity and the quality of people in the areas that I think we need. So I think we'll be fine in that world as it changes. As far as quarterback, it's just like every position, guys. I mean, every day you're competing and fighting and doing the best you can to compete with every guy. I mean, you think it's redundant or coach speak, but there really isn't a depth chart. There's just reps. And in the spring, we're giving reps out. We're getting 4 reps with 4 groups at some positions, and we want to see all those guys compete and get better.
For another question, Coach, I know you wanted to reference Pro Day tomorrow.
I don't know where you guys are. I'm not going to be at the Pro Day tomorrow to be able to do the media, so I wanted to give you guys an opportunity if you wanted to. I'm going to be here tomorrow for most of the day, but I've got to leave at some point, so I won't be out there for the Pro Day during it. And if there's any questions you guys have about the Pro Day or those guys, feel free to ask. I'm really concerned with my team, not concerned with the Pro Day. But the Pro Day is certainly important to a group of players who have been tremendous for Georgia. And, we all have talked about the accolades they have and the winningest record in the history of the school. And they've done a lot of good things. And I know a lot of them will do well tomorrow, but I'm not going to be out there the whole time for that.
And Kirby, there's coaches out there canceling spring games left and right. Some have talked about moving spring practice to a summer. How much of that did you evaluate, and why is it important for you guys to have G-Day kind of as normal this year?
Yeah, first of all, I think there's a lot of – everybody wants to talk about that and make it about the portal and make it about this decision to not or have spring games based on the fluidity of players. I don't know that that's every coach's reason. There's a lot of coaches that didn't like the spring game before the portal ever came about. Everybody has different approaches. My approach has been I like to have spring football games, but that's every year we make that decision based on where we are. We haven't even practiced yet. So, it would be remiss if I said 100% I'm dead set we're having a spring game. I leave every option open. That's my 15th practice. So we can do what we want to do. We're planning to have a spring game. I've talked to Josh Brooks about it several times. We've had conversation, but that doesn't mean it can't change. Last year, I think Kentucky didn't have any defensive linemen healthy. They weren't able to have a spring game. So we don't know. Like, I can't forecast the future to know exactly what's going to happen 15 days from now. I do know we have to get better, and we've got to practice football. So when that happens, as it goes, we spread ours out over more time than most people. We have 5 weeks, and we have 3 practices a week. So we want to try to get recovery and stay healthy so we can have really good practices. But I like spring games. I want to have a spring game. I think it's important because you allow kids to play that don't typically get to play. You sometimes allow fans to enjoy an experience in Athens that they normally wouldn't get. But I'm not ready to say that it's 100%.
Since you're asking about the Pro Day guys, I want to kind of ask about Malachi and Michael. With Malachi, how much have you talked to NFL teams about his ability to play both nickel and safety? And with Michael, I guess he said at the Combine that he was playing pretty hurt for a lot of last year, kind of fighting through it. What do you remember just about him trying to gut through some of those games?
Yeah, Malachi is a very futuristic safety. I mean, he can play nickel. He can play man-to-man. More and more, the safety is not what the safety was. The safety has evolved in the NFL because they're in open sets. They're playing more middle field coverage. He has to be able to play man-to-man. He has to be able to cover people, matchups on tight ends as they bring the more and more tight ends to the league. Like he fits what teams want to do. So he has a lot of value in the National Football League in terms of matchup and cover because every game comes down to matchups in their league. So everybody's asked about that, and more teams are intrigued, but at his versatility. As far as Michael, he was a warrior this whole year. You know, he was dead set he wanted to play in the Alabama game and pushed so hard to come back, and he wasn't 100% then, and there's a lot of games that he only played a few snaps in because he wasn't 100%. If you go back to the Auburn game, he was jumping and tearing at the bit to get in those games. And I think when those teams look and they see how you create value for yourself, there's more of a time in National Football League where people have to play at 80 and 90% health because they don't have another option. And their 80 and 90% is better than the guy that could get off the streets 100%. So they want kids that have toughness and can play. And I think, Michael battled through that all year. And it was really tough on him because he had one of the best fall camps that I've ever seen. And the good news is all those scouts saw that too. And I think that'll pop up where he gets drafted at, because for a guy that's going to get drafted really high, he wasn't 100% all year. But they respect the fact that he pushed through and competed.
Yeah, with this team and there's so much newness, what do you hope to learn about them this spring?
Yeah, I want to see the fire. I want to see the passion, the energy. I want to see who wants to be a good football player, who really cares about this game. Like, they care more about the game than they do about their NIL revenue stream. Like, if you really, really, really care about the game and you want to be good, it doesn't matter about any kind of money. It matters how I play the game. And more we're seeing across college football, the purest, the ones that care about the game the most, play the hardest. And usually the team that plays hardest wins. I know everybody thinks it's just whoever's more talented, but there's a whole lot to how hard you play and how much you care about it. So my goal is to find out, how hard do you want to play? How much do you really want to be great? Because if you do, it'll show by how you practice.
Time for one more question.
Kirby, I want to ask you about, I guess, Dan and Chaz. These are two guys that didn't get invites to the Combine, and Dan obviously showed up well at the Senior Bowl. Do you ever get any say in terms of who goes to the Combine? And I guess in the years you've done this, the 20 years specifically, have you seen a guy like Dan overlooked? And just how much of an outcry did you think that was that he didn't get that invite?
Yeah, I can't really speak on that. I can only defend my players and the character that those two have. They're tremendous football players and even better people. Do I think they were deserving? Absolutely. But do I know what goes into it to sit here and be critical of an organization that runs one of the biggest businesses in all of the world, one of the most successful businesses of all the world? They have a limited number of spots. They have to base that on some criteria, and I'm sure they have a rhyme or reason for what they do in terms of getting looks at people. They also get lots of looks at our guys because they are open to come here every single day. They get a lot of opportunities to see our guys. They got to see Dan at the Senior Bowl. They got to see Chaz at the other bowl, which he got injured at. So I don't know what all goes into that. I'm not here to be critical of some people who make those decisions. I think they know what they're doing when they make them. But I can certainly tell you those two players are going to make somebody's team a lot better in the National Football League.